Innovation is not a new word. It used to be called creativity. It used to be called artisticness. But our motto, which identifies both this conference and our office, is that great people put together with great projects made great fun. And this formula has now worked, don't laugh, over 45 years. And I'll make it very quick, but I started at the Henry Dreyfuss office before your parents were born. And one of the interesting things about Mr. Dreyfuss was that he pioneered the measurement of man, which we worked on to try and get understanding of the dimensions of humans. From that point, I burned out on New York, and we started Designworks in California. Eventually, and rather shortly, BMW took interest. It moved from Designworks and added the Design Academy and now Intersection. And that spans 45 years of fantastic eras of design. And I identify them, I made up these names, the spiral era, the linear era, and the simple network area, and now today, the complex network. And you can see how the world of design started and has developed into this unbelievably powerful world that it presently has. This was the beginning, the lineal era. In these days, it was a strong ego. Designers were rare. There was very little refinement to any of the industrial design. You understood, defined, developed, so on. But really, what it really was just finding a company that had a lousy product, and you could go in and make it better. Obviously, this did not last very long. So I have to tell you, I was in New York and burned out on New York, and this was not a good time in New York. And about the same time, Dio and the people up north moved into a garage. We bought property and not only moved into a garage, we built a garage. We had no money, so it was really quite a pleasure. And it attracted talent. Who in the world would make a garage to make a studio? But when you had no work, there is no choice. Every piece of furniture in this place was handmade. We couldn't buy anything. And old office furniture was so god-awful that we just couldn't handle it. So we started, and the very beginning of the philosophy of the office was that we would design anything, that we would cross-fertilize. And this attracted designers, creative designers that were frustrated drawing one product or one part of a car, and moved it forward into the beginning of our project. Great people, great projects, great fun. We made it into a logo, and there's no mystery that this works. It was short-lived, however, and it moved into the next era, which was spiral. We call it spiral because it now accelerated the complexity. We had to know more what we were doing. We had to research a little more. Nothing like today, but it was the beginning of multidisciplinary times. About the same time in the spiral era, California was becoming famous for car design. And I hate to say it, but Art Center, when they trained young car designers, they were quite happy. They were quite good, and they did not want to go to Detroit or foreign places. They just as soon stay in California. So our attraction for bringing car companies into California was, of course, the fact that it was a car culture. We had hot rods and sports cars, and the people, there was a love for cars. And all of the designers who had been to Art Center wanted to stay in California, started developing these studios. BMW was curious about us. Well, what are they? Well, this is a funny group. They seem to be interested in all kinds of design, and of course, in the past had done some very fancy sports cars. So as they came in, obviously they added a few words to our great fun, great people, great projects. How about a little strategy, please? How about financing this? And remember, in these days, there were no computers. We didn't have that initial startup cost. And of course, it had to be an investment that really paid off. And so as we negotiated with BMW, obviously there was a lot of give and take. But one thing we held absolutely pure was that we would never spend more than half the time on cars. The rest of the cars, the rest of the work had to come from product design, transportation, and other products. This is unique, and it still is unique as far as we know. The second part of BMW is it forced a global cultural diversity. There's a lot of differences between the discipline of Germany and the casualness of California, and this cross-fertilization helped both of us. It brought discipline to us, and it brought freedom and free thinking to the strict German philosophy. So this interchange allowed growth. BMW in those days was just a sedan and motorcycle company, not the car company that we know today. There was no FITS research center. Designworks started, and very quickly we had to set up an office in Munich so that we could communicate with the key people without flying across the ocean. Oxnard, which is north of Designworks, became the engineering test center, and of course Palo Alto snuck in here as a research center. We couldn't come to China right away. We went to Singapore, and it was kind of a stepping stone for that. Obviously, BMW now has many brands, and I'm very happy to say one of them, of course, is Mini. And the next speaker is Frank, which incredible story of the designing of the Mini. Sorry, Frank, but it was a great growth for BMW to move into the smaller car syndrome. The simplified network era, which was the next part, was the expansion of research. And now we had global coordination of engineering departments. We had new disciplines coming in. And of course, the beginning of better human understanding. In the relationship with BMW, when we started mixing disciplines, new names came up. An engineer that was a very strong designer became a package engineer. A financial person who was really good with the automobile world became a financial designer, etc. And these new titles, which were developed years and years ago, still stand, because it's not one simple discipline, it's the mix of disciplines that makes quality and innovation. Obviously, this simple network demanded even more research, and so we developed another offshoot of Designworks called the Design Academy, which now started tying in business, academic world, government, and advocacy. We had to. And this was the beginning of what you see today called design thinking. Part of this was breaking down silos. Engineers that wouldn't talk to designers, finance people that didn't share financial problems. And the tools that we used then for exposing different cultures to design are typically used now. The clips on the boards, the little museums, the circular areas that combined thinking processes. And of course, now we move into the complex network, which is where we are today. Now we have networks that face with networks. And we're dealing with bigger subjects: human and social consciousness, sensory design, emotional connections, measuring intangibles, and of course transparency. And you'll get to hear more from the speakers that are coming up today on all these subjects and how they're handling that. Probably the biggest one is this dealing with and humanizing technology. The technology world is raced off into a world of high-speed, ununderstandable things which have outdone the human understanding. Empathy is the word. And this complex network era, now generally under the category of empathy, is applied to the vehicles that have come out of the BMW design area for the last, 5-6 years. Got to tell you a story about empathy that we were lucky enough to have a chance to build a catamaran in New Zealand. And it was a very challenging kind of a project in that, number one, it was a self-dignity. Could I really design a boat that was good, that I respected, that I was proud of? Number two, could my contemporaries think it was cool? Could I, it's not so easy. Designers are tough on designers. And most of all, nature. Nature itself is probably the biggest critique of the boating world. And never in my life have I respected nature so much as getting out. There's our boat in a storm. A tanker took pictures of us. To this day, that fear of the power of the ocean taking off anything that was poorly designed, anything that was unrelated to the function of the boat. There's an honesty that nature brings to design that we can never forget. And from the smallest little plant to the biggest mountain over the next lifetime of projects, I never forgot that. Very exciting product. The second part of this was that as we went in the northern islands of Fiji and Vanuatu and Tonga, we started meeting really unique native areas. Here on your right is the first time this guy had ever heard music on a small mechanical box. What an experience. I felt guilty. I felt like a voyeur, bringing something that maybe I shouldn't have brought to this. How quickly should we bring our technology into these pure native situations? On the right, we tried to teach and bring things to them. The little boy with the black had just come from a little ceremony where he carved his initials in a little tree. That little tree would grow as he grew and be carved as his canoe. That's planning. That's not quarterly return. That's thinking of another era that we need to respect. I thought I would just have a few, as Mark said, are there any formulas for success that we could watch and build on? Well, I'd have to take Formula One for teamwork. How can 12 people change tires, fill up a tank, change spoilers, do this in seconds? And there's something we always need to learn about the efficiency of multiple people working together in a trained, single understanding. Formula of success, maybe number one, absolutely number one, get the best damn talent you can. Anything to get talent in all the disciplines and make a comfortable area that magnetically draws talent to your place. The world, emerging world of autonomous cars is one of the biggest networking challenges we have. Here's another one, understand your customers and your stakeholders. Remember, it's not only the customers, it's the people that finance the company, it's the people that run the company. This product, which won a lot of awards for General Electric, addressed 3 different users with the same machine and the same interface. The nurse had one message, the doctor had another message, and the family that came to visit what was happening on the monitor all needed different interface that was understandable, non-threatening, and comforting. And again, you'll have some more talks today going more into this incredible world of interface. Here's a great one, 2 buses. The first one we did was, and these all are understanding culture. This bus, which is really called the coach, was designed for retired people. And they wanted an imposing, solid-looking vehicle that was comfortable. And we did things like build a spiral staircase in, so it was very easy to climb in and out. We gave the driver a very protected sort of a post around the driver area to make a feeling of security. A totally interesting project. They're still running today, thousands of these buses. But the next one we did for the King of Dubai was quite different. The king didn't want any people walking around, did it? He had 12 princes that he wanted to entertain. He's a very heavy guy, and he couldn't really climb upstairs. So the bus became a ramp, and he wanted high style. He wanted a powerful look. He wanted it to show the future thinking that Dubai so rapidly represents to the world. Great project. And of course, the trips to Dubai, if you haven't done it, are quite interesting experiences. A little bit, another one of the formulas is to get the vocabulary working. It's hard enough to go between languages, as you all are very familiar. But we have to take that into the technical world and the creative world and try and match so we understand each other's words. And you can pick any of these words and see how different they are from a person talking from the technical world to a creative person. Seeking cause from the technical man means seeking experience from the creative, etc. And of course, it all means we have to build a creative culture with people and processes and exchanges and involvement from everyone, from the lowest personnel to including the third party, the people that supply BMW with parts and so on. Needless to say, global is important. Absolutely have to be global. Absolutely have to respect diversity. And no way is more direct than having clients that reflect diversity. And to have these kind of clients input between medical, computers, and sports equipment is the big payoff. Got to have a creative, you can't put creative people in terrible, unpleasant situations. It doesn't have to be big or pretentious, but it has to support a designer. A designer needs this groundwork of solidity so that he can reach out. And this security is so important for the creativity blossoming. So never forget building a creative environment. Here's a little sensitive part. A lot of you right now are managers or soon to be managers or want to be managers. And it's very important that a manager understands and is transparent about the culture of design and is involved. One of the great successes of BMW was the fact that every one of the Vorstand, that's the management team, is car fanatics. And if they were chauffeured in a car, that was no dignity. They had to drive their own car. They still have to drive their own car. And if they really want to move up in the executive role, they have to ride a motorcycle. The finance directors had some interesting crashes on that. Be innovative in the business world. I know this slide is last of this series, but one of the interesting things that I demanded from Designworks is that to keep its independence and its innovation, it had to be a profit center. It couldn't be just funded and told what to do. And so Designworks, to my knowledge, is the only studio that stands alone. The billing from outside clients is the same rate as BMW. And what this does is build risk into the process. Look where we're at now from the first 3 stages. Look at the complexity and what you as designers have access to. I mean, this list is still small, but the filter of all these, of course, is human interface itself, sensitivity here. You overlay all this knowledge with the human understanding filter. And this is the future. And this is what we live with the sensors and the ability to map and understand what the body really needs. Did you know BMW is 100 years this year? And this is a tangible example, which is so nice to show people. Not only do we talk about the future, but we make physical examples of the future. And I said that I would start with a dream and end with a dream. And so my dream originally was to build a garage and start a little design office. Now I dream of a green, smart, connected city. I dream of applying the human understanding, the relation of the machine interface, intuition, and nature into the city. How could we make a city that had seamless transfers between different modes of transportation? To go from an airplane to a bus to a car is very complicated, and we need to simplify that and to move it to a single source of mobility coordination which the software people can do. I know it can be done, and so that the timing, the cost of a bicycle from a train, small cars, big cars, all can be coordinated. Got to park our cars. They're going to be around for a long time. So underground, overground parking, which allows you to make mobility exchanges, is absolutely necessary. And these have to be coordinated. And all these things fall into this emerging power of software, which you're all so involved in. What if you were a single person and wanted to go to work? Couldn't there be a program that allowed the best, quickest, most comfortable way for a single person to go to work? That's quite different from a family with a dog to go on a long airplane trip. So the software needs to deal with the cultures, needs to deal with the different types of travelers, and bring them into a city of the future that's maybe really safe, comfortable to live or visit. Yep, that was 40-some years of eras, but you're in the most exciting, the most incredible one right now. And I leave you just with 3 thoughts. Put design and design thinking into your culture. Try and humanize technology. And for heaven's sake, visualize your dreams. Thank you a million times.